Okay. Can we believe it? All right. We are back. We're back. I just love doing this show and I cannot wait to share. So, okay. All right. Are you ready out there? Are you as ready as I am? Because I am thrilled to have this group here with me. I am back. That's right. You haven't forgotten me. You have been following me around, and with my heart full and swollen with gratitude for almost 10 years now. We are going to have a 10-year anniversary. This show you're watching right now is Profound Professionals. And as you already guessed it, I am back, your host, Jessica Koch. And here we have some just amazing shiny faces and just so much information. You are going to want to clear your schedule, sit yourself down, and go on this journey of our podcast today. Because today we have Lee Pepper. He is a former Army officer and retired chief marketing officer, which I am super attached to marketing. It's like candy. I love marketing stuffs. And he has a new book, and I have it. So do you need to get this book. I have the book, and it is Never Outmatched, a military strategies to lead, innovate, and win in the marketing battlefield. That modern marketing battlefield, say that 10 times fast, modern marketing battlefield. Yeah, that is all the noise, right? It's the oceans and oceans and oceans of people out there, and breaking through that noise. And, I'm not a fan of this term, but being a bit of that disruptor, right? That scroll stopper. I always want to fill people with joy, not disrupt them. But sometimes you have to give them a good shake to get them where they're going, so that we can win. And these stories are already available in stores. So this book is already for you. So welcome, Lee. Say hi, everybody.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for having me.
Yes, I am thrilled. I can't wait to talk to you. My son is active duty Army. We have lots of little sprouts of military throughout my life, my history, and people that I love. So we're going to talk a lot more about that when we come back around. I want to also welcome Andrew. He is a life coach who works with highly successful families, helping teens and young adults find transformational breakthrough in their lives. And that can mean so many things. There's so many stages of growth, and what teens are experiencing, and how to make that joyful. I think a little bit, Mother Nature has a little bit of a joke there, where there's a bit of a pinch in the teen world with the parents having 7 kids. And I think it's so that we're able to say, okay, out into the world you go. Otherwise, we just might want to keep them under our wing forever and ever. So I love what you're doing in the world, and thank you for that. And welcome, Andrew.
Thanks so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
All right, Michelle is my special one. She is doing something super cool in the world. I mean, the guys are great, but Michelle, she is a registered master hypnotist, and she has hypnotized 1,000 people, probably more, I'm guessing, to guide them through the liminal space and the disorienting electric terrain that stands between you, who you were, and who you're becoming. So you are going to just be able to clear any of those blocks that were keeping you from the best, beautiful, and most amazing, successful, and your most desired self. Loving that self and getting to that place. And I think it's darn close to magical what you are up to in the world, Michelle. So welcome.
Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. Thank you for having me.
And I got it. I didn't fall over any of the tripwires. Yay me. All right. So I'm going to go out of the usual. Usually it's the I'm very formal with the ladies first and all that jazz, but I really want to start with Lee. I feel this draw to you, Lee. I love this book that you've done. I got sent, you won't get this, I'm special, this really amazing coin that goes with this book and this concept of never outmatched. That is, mindset and a mantra for the Army to defend us and protect us. And how grateful we are for that and your service, Lee. So share with us how you kind of went from military to marketing to this book to serve the community.
Yeah, well, it's a long and winding path. I was fortunate that I grew up in a military family. My father was a lieutenant colonel and retired after 26 years. So it was kind of always, I think, in my DNA. But when I was in college, I took a year off and I enlisted in the Army. And then after a couple of years, I was able to earn a spot in officer candidate school, and then was commissioned and then served as an armor officer. And then I was lucky that I got to work in politics. I was a political science major at University of Tennessee, and this is back in the early 90s. I volunteered on Ross Perot's presidential campaign, and then that parlayed into a full-time job working for Mr. Perot. I was one of his youngest campaign staffers, and then that moved me into an IT job working for Perot Systems, which was one of his companies. And then that was in the early days of the internet, early days of website development, and that's what moved me into digital marketing. And so early on in digital marketing, I realized that some of these concepts that I was employing in the way that I led the team were really things that I learned when I was in the military. And I wanted to share some of these ideas to kind of give new voice, because I think a lot of young leaders struggle when they're trying to make their way in the business world. And so I wanted to kind of document how I communicated these strategies into mental models. And I think a lot of times people sometimes think the military is just very hierarchical when it's really very creative and innovative. And I wanted to share that concept.
Well, and there's a lot, all the ribbons on your chest are not for no reason. There's a lot of encouragement and reward for, taking the right path or being a great leader, inspiring others. And I think that there is something that can be learned from that. Now you're helping in addition to the book, and go check out his book and make sure you get it. And all the links will be all the places that you're watching this. But you're also supporting and working with leadership within corporations. Are you doing one-on-one or group sessions yourself, or is it primarily with organizations? How is that working as far as supporting your clients?
Yeah, I have a couple of different models. I was telling Michelle, who has spent a lot of time in Australia, I have a long time relationship with a company in Australia where I just do coaching calls, and we do 2 calls a month. So I help their marketing team and their admissions team, and then I have a couple of other clients here in the U.S. where I'm on a retainer where I go and spend a day or 2 each month with them. So it just kind of depends on what the team needs, but I'm a big believer in I'm a liberating force, not an occupying force. So I really like to train the trainers, and I like to inspire the team so that I can come in and do my thing and then let them go off and do even greater things.
Yeah, I love that. You got yourself set up to work yourself right out of a job. Good news is there's plenty of fish in the sea. So where is the best place for them to find you before we move on to hear a bit about Andrew's journey?
Sure. Well, the book is available at all major outlets, certainly Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. And then they can find me at neveroutmatched.com. And I've got links to, the book and also my speaking engagements. And I'm going to be doing my first TED Talk in early November. So I'll be doing TEDx Ocala, which is in Florida. And so I'm really excited to appear on that stage.
Yeah, lots of things to celebrate. Good on you. And so if you're thinking your marketing team could use maybe a little structure, or even just a different point of view and perspective to scale and get your company where you're thinking it should head as we approach the last quarter of the year and all your goals and plans for next year, I think Lee Pepper is your guy. So check out it's neveroutmatched.com, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
check
thank
that out
you.
and get a hold of Lee. We will be back to you for some tips. So I know you have a ton of armies up your sleeves and tips up there too. So we will come back to you. Andrew, talk to us about, and I love that, Michelle, I feel like I'm not going to offend the guys, but I'm saving the magical for last, because I feel like Lee has this great thing from the powerful leadership and your background in the Army. So I'm starting with him. And then I love that we're then moving into Andrew, because he is supporting, the seedlings, the roots, and the core foundation of that before it blooms and leads out into the world where Lee is touching. So Andrew, talk to us about how you became supportive of families, really wrapped your arms around teens and young adults to help them set themselves up for success as they step into their lives and begin to figure out who they are and what that even is going to look like.
Yeah, thank you. Lee, there's so much over like just listening to you describe what you do, there's so much overlap in our work. The one thing that I'll say before I get into my background is like oftentimes what determines the memories available to you and the options that you see available to you are not actually about your circumstances. They're about your mindset, right? And that really translates into all the leadership and marketing initiatives that sounds like you're behind. So that's awesome. I came to this work via the mental health field. My background is as a mental health counselor. I worked for hospital in Colorado before founding two young adult transitional living programs, one in Idaho and one in Denver. And one of the things that I noticed in traditional therapy is that even the aha moments that exist are tough to integrate into everyday living. There are a lot of people in therapy or that even go to programs that get a lot of emotional insight into how they think and how they were impacted without a whole lot of what do I do with this in terms of managing everyday life and keeping myself pointed towards, the life and academic goals that I have. And so my coaching practice is really focused on that. Like, what are the tools, the everyday tools that you can use to rewire your brain for the outcome and results that you want in your life, things that don't take you a ton of time, and to learn how to control your state, right? Because I think mood is passive and state that you can learn how to control. And so really trying to create, transformational breakthroughs, like you mentioned, for my clients so that they can bring an excited and convicted mindset to their daily lives.
Yeah, and I think those just small sprinkles of joy are so powerful. So I'm going to ask you something similar. So are you working with the families in a group setting, maybe virtual group program?
So
Are you working with them one-on-one? Is it a little both? How's that working?
So I do a handful of things. So my like fundamental coaching is I will do an immersive experience for each of my clients. So I spend 2 on the ground where they live. Maybe that's at college, maybe that's at home, depending on age, living in their first apartment. And so that's like kind of downloading new software if you think about it that way. And I work remotely with them 2 to 3 times a week after that. For my young adult clients, I also do an international retreat once a year. I offer
That's cool.
both building community and having kind of another immersive experience. And I also offer parent workshops where parents of my clients can come together to do some skills building, build connection, that kind of
I
thing.
love that. I love that. And where's the best place for them to find you if they'd like to learn more about these programs or these events that they could check out?
Yeah, thanks. Best place to find me is via my website, which is Insight, INCITE -coaching.com. So Insight, like inciting change. That's the best place to find me.
All right, repeat it one more time. I always like to say the website's twice.
Insight Coaching, INCITE -coaching.com.
Awesome. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I'm in a book club and we're doing this book, Ask and It Is Given. And one of the things they talk about is, if you have a situation, whatever your situation is, you can just say all in the moment while you're like driving or standing in line or just some of the mundane things in life, all the things you're grateful about for that moment, right? I'm grateful that there's no traffic right now, or hey, the light turned green, or hey, my car is so reliable and takes such good care of me, or wherever you're going might be a wonderful place you're going. And I think that if you practice that, exercise that muscle all the time, your joy output and your receivability of more wonderful things that surprise you are just kind of magnetically drawn to you. So I think that's a great segue into Michelle. Is that your philosophy too, Andrew? Are you thinking that I might be onto something?
Gratitude is the ultimate antidote to suffering. You can't feel negative emotion and gratitude at the same time.
Yeah, I think gratitude, love, and joy are just the strongest of frequencies and energy. So that leads us into the perfect segue. See how beautiful this is set up? Michelle. Oh my gosh. She's not going to hypnotize us without our permission. And I am going to say this. We are not on this show giving you medical, legal, financial, or any sort of advice. If you need help, support, guidance, seek a professional, reach out. If Andrew and Lee and Michelle resonate with you, reach out, have a conversation, see what's right for you. But be a grown-up, wear your big person pants, and go to all your professionals that you need to, based on whatever's going on in your life. We're here for information, share our stories, a sprinkle of entertainment, we hope, and also some great information and wonderful experts and professionals. So just remember that this is a podcast, and make sure you do the things that you need to do out there as you're watching. As I say that, Michelle, I'm glad I said that as I stepped into yours, because your modality of health and healing and just even a way of life is so fascinating to me. I've read some self-hypnosis books, so I can't wait for me to stop talking and to hear your journey and story, so that you can be talking. That's what's going to happen now. Go ahead. You're up.
Lovely. Thank you. And it was great listening to the other two of you as well, because I talk a lot about the liminal space, which I'll mention in a moment, and that links into both of your worlds as well. But my background is I was a consultant for a really long time. So I used to work directly with C-suite. I was a brand and culture strategist, did that for a long time. And then 7 years ago, I just thought, I just don't want to do this anymore. And so I literally walked away from that career with no idea of what was next at all. I'd saved up what I call the Freedom Fund. So I knew that I could live for a year comfortably and explore what the next option was. And I literally stumbled into hypnosis. It was one of those things where I didn't seek it out. I stumbled across it. The first time I started training in it, I just went, this is the thing that I want to do. So I really landed in that space. But my work is, as I say, it's in the liminal. So it's that really weird in between when you are not who you were and you've not yet become who you're becoming. So it's a really awkward place where you feel yourself shedding an old identity, but you haven't fully really stepped into and embodied this next version of yourself. And when you're in this space, it's like the inner critic is screaming at you because they're saying, can you really do this? Are you really good enough? You tend to have this wild emotional experience. You often start questioning, do I really want the thing that I thought I wanted? And so it really is this electric and exciting terrain, but there's a lot to do in that space, because what the liminal is actually asking you to do is to fully master who you're becoming. And so a lot of people in that space, they kind of clamber around for more. They want to listen to more podcasts, read more books, go to more workshops, get more knowledge, create more concepts. It's more. And actually, when you start to take it away and you just go deeper into landing the stuff that you thought you'd landed previously, that's when you start to really master that version of yourself. And I do that work through something called the alchemy sequence, which is my proprietary precision process. And that allows us to work through all of the things we need to do to get you to master that new version of yourself. Everything from your nervous system to all your deep belief systems, all the somatic work, and also the energy work as well. Because one of the reasons a lot of people feel very scattered is all the energy is up here. And when we move it and we shift it down deeper into your body, you feel much, much more grounded. So, yeah. So, and I say with the liminal, we get biological spaces like perimenopause, like the teenage years. And I'm sure leaving the military and going back into civilian life would be one of those liminal spaces as well.
And, I used the word liminal as I introduced you, having no knowledge of what I'm very smart cookie. Okay, don't get me wrong. But I just didn't happen to know that word. All right. Don't judge me. And it's hysterical because I am experiencing much of that right now. So I have 4 years left of high school with our daughter. I have this vision and dream that I have, I think a bit been trying to force manifest because I want it so badly, is this oceanfront home that will happen once she is out of high school. And I felt a huge shift in the last week with this book club that I've been doing, where instead of worrying about, where all the things are going to come for retirement and the trust that I want to leave for the grandkids and all the things and how to sell the house and how to, like, all the pieces, I suddenly started to expect all those pieces to fall in place and then be open to accept and receive them. Right. So, and allow them to come. So first I had to expect them and then believe that that expectation was happening. And it was something that, I'm not sure exactly how it happened. I started a new affirmation with my husband. I've been doing, I think it's a combination of like all the things where suddenly I'm feeling a lot less. I mean, everyone worries a little. You have to, it's one of those like breathing things you got to work on all the time. But I'm definitely different than I was. So I think I'm experiencing a little of the liminal space moments. So funny, I didn't even know the word, and that's my current situation. Fascinating. Okay, enough about me. Back to so how are you working with your clients? Are they workshops? Are they one-on-ones? Yeah, apparently I need to possibly attend one. So what's going on in your world, Michelle? How can people find you and work with you?
So the best place to find me is if you go to my website, and if you go to michelleboyde.com/start. Boyde has an E on the end. I have to mention that I'm one of the rare Boydes with an E. And you'll find information there. I do have a liminal archetype quiz. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I think I'm in the liminal, it will identify where you are in the liminal and what you need to do to collapse it fastest. So I would head there. But I think I'll talk to you a bit later about the detail of my program Metamorph. So we'll go into that later. But I would head to michelleboyde.com/start, and there's loads of resources for you on that page.
I love it when I bring smarter guests on the show than I am. It just makes life so good. All right, we're going back around, ladies and gentlemen, and get ready. And all of you, get your notepads out, because now is the time they're all going to share us some amazing and brilliant tip that is going to be so fabulous that it's going to improve our lives as soon as today. Things we can take action on, get moving, get it done, begin to make it happen, begin to become that person we so desire to be, that best version of ourselves. Lee, can you give us all a tip for ourselves or for our organization or our teams, our community? What do you got for us?
Yeah, I think one of the chapters in my book that I've been getting good feedback on is the chapter on commander's intent. And I think that when you're thinking about from a military perspective, the generals are coming up with a strategy, and so they will put that strategy out as their commander's intent, and then it kind of feeds down through the organization, because it's the platoons and the companies that are out there actually doing the battle. And so how that translates into business is that a lot of times we micromanage our teams to death, or we put too much bureaucracy. And so that's where leaders have to give their commander's intent, but then give their teams enough freedom of movement to be creative and innovative to go and execute that. Because when it actually comes to the battle situation or the training situation, some of the things that may change. And if you don't give your team some room to move, then that's why maybe sometimes businesses fail. And I think that that's a critical mindset that you have to adopt, especially when you're working with millennials and Gen Z, because I love working with those younger people, because I just give the commander's intent. I tell them, here's what the mission is, but you go figure it out, you go accomplish it. But a lot of times people my age struggle because they're too busy micromanaging them to death. And so I think that that's a key component in the way that I lead and the way the military leads.
And whether you're using that for your teams or yourself, like I have been working really hard at setting an intention when I attend something or I do something, or I've been asked to speak at a group. What is my intention for that audience, that community, for myself? What is the outcome going to be, the intended outcome? And then I love that you're giving, empowering those leaders to give their community, their supporters, whether you're an army of, a leader of one of yourself, you still have an impact and an influence on your community, your listeners, your audience, your clients, your community, and empowering them to take those bold actions and achieve that success in a way that's well communicated. So I love that. That's a great tip. All right, Andrew, we're going to come around to you for a tip. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so oftentimes when you feel stuck, you imagine the solution being something outside of yourself. If I just get a new job, if I just find a relationship, anything in that vein. And as I mentioned earlier, your state is ultimately responsible for what you see as the potential paths in front of you, your options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to give you a quick kind of visualization exercise to change your state, because we were talking about gratitude earlier, but I want to talk a little bit about anticipation, because if you're in an anticipatory state, that is ultimately the bridge between expectation and execution. So like when I was listening to you describe your beachfront property, that may actually have been the switch for you. You created the expectation, you established a state of anticipation, you could see it happening, and now you're almost effortlessly taking the actions that are necessary to make that a reality in the future for yourself. So one of the things that you can do if you find yourself in an unresourceful state is to close your eyes, imagine a time that you were looking forward to something. Maybe it was a trip, maybe it was a family reunion or seeing one of your friends, and really step into your body as if you were there. Hear what you heard, feel what you felt, see what you saw, what you said to yourself or what somebody else said to you, and really get in touch with that. And you can shift in a pretty small amount of time your sense of feeling stuck or hopeless or helpless to step into that new state.
I love that. That's a wonderful, wonderful visualization and exercise. And that leads us to the next perfect tip and comment, right to Michelle. Michelle, you have a tip that you could share with us?
I do. So I would say if you are not getting what you want, if you're not getting to where you want to be, to stop using your head and to start shifting your focus into your body. Because assuming that you've got a great strategy, you've got great tactics, and you know where you're going, if you are not getting there, it's because part of your subconscious is not on board and your subconscious is in your body. Most of us live very much up here, especially high performing, very successful people have created their success through their head. So stop putting more in, stop being focused up here, and literally close your eyes for a few minutes a day, sit and see what is happening in your body, because the head is about knowledge and the body is about wisdom, and it's got some wisdom about why it's not letting you move forward. And you can start very easily. For example, everyone here can probably feel their hand. For example, if you want to tap into your left hand, you can do that. But bear in mind that there's so much more of you that's more deeply subconscious. For example, if I said, can you all put your awareness on your gallbladder, for example, that might not feel quite as easy to do, but there is so much wisdom in your body. But start by simply closing your eyes, sitting quietly, shifting out of your head, and just noticing what's happening in your body.
I love that. That's good. Paying attention to ourselves is a great tip. One of the things I love about our show is, beyond the amazing, profound professionals that we bring on to the show, is one of the things I believe that makes them profound is their ability to care about the community, the world, the globe, our humanity as a whole, far beyond us as individuals or just our businesses. Even though I'm pretty great and I know they care about me, it's really wonderful when we can stretch our thoughts and our energy beyond us. And even if we're just spreading a sprinkle of awareness, I believe that's so very powerful. So if we can inspire someone today to give time, treasure, or talent to a cause that one of you share, or just remind them of the cause that's close to their own heart, and maybe life has gotten in the way and they just hadn't remembered to reach out to them and see what they can do to continue to support them. I think we've done something really powerful and good with our time today. So Lee, would you share with us a cause that's close to your heart?
Sure. I volunteer as a mentor in our county's Veterans Treatment Court. And most counties in America have a Veterans Treatment Court, and it's an alternative sentencing organization. So any veterans that get in trouble with the law, they can have their case adjudicated through the Veterans Treatment Court. And what's key is that we work with the Veterans Administration. We work to get them resources that they may not be aware that they've had access to, and make sure they have all their benefits lined up. And then they're assigned a social worker, their parole officers involved, and then they'll have a volunteer mentor like myself that becomes kind of their buddy that they partner with. And then they go through weekly mental health counseling and treatment. And I think it's one of these critical things that we honor, their service, and kind of get them reconnected with some of the resources that are available to them. So I encourage any veterans that are out there listening to do a quick Google search to see what's available in your community, because we have a shortage of mentors. We always need more and more mentors to get involved and share their wisdom and their knowledge with these young soldiers as they come back into society.
And it's just a great way to set someone up to succeed for a change, and help them have what they need, like you said, to take some of the better steps forward for themselves and for everyone. Everybody wins as we all do well together. So thank you for sharing that, Lee. And I didn't know about that particular program. I know a lot of different veteran things out there, but this is another good one. So thanks for that. How about you, Andrew? You've got a cause that's close to your heart?
I do. So there is a family in California whose 16-year-old son took his own life about a year ago. And in response to that, they have set up a nonprofit that has amazing initiatives for teens that experiencing suicidal ideation or need a sense of community or belonging. Build them up, and it's not just in California, it's all over the country, and there are some people carrying it in the UK as well. So it's called Endurant, ENDURANT, and their website is endurantmovement.org.
I love that. And any of you out there, if you have a moment where you're feeling extra lonely, or you have those kinds of worries or thoughts or concerns, make sure you reach out the phone for a hotline, or head out to a hospital, or go get some support and care. And thank you for sharing on that cause, because life is such an amazing gift. And I always told my children, no matter how bad you think it can be, as long as there's life, there's hope. We will figure it out. We will figure it out, whatever it is. It could be the ultimate of what you think the ultimate line is. It doesn't matter. As long as we're alive, there is hope, and we will figure it out together. So I love that, Andrew. Thank you. Michelle, a cause that's close to your heart?
So I have an Aussie one for you. Because I've been in Australia for the last 11 years, and I'm an Aussie now, and my business is Australian as well. But it's called the Pajama Foundation. So there's obviously a correlation between numeracy and literary skills, and then how successful people are in life. And children who are in foster care tend to have lower numeracy and literary skills. And so what the Pajama Foundation do is they train up pajama angels who are just normal people who are prepared to give up an hour of their time a week for at least a whole year. And they are assigned a child, anywhere from, toddlers all the way up to an 18-year-old. And they go and sit with them once a week. And they essentially help them with their English and their maths homework to support those skills. But of course, those conversations can evolve as well. So, if you have a teenage girl who's starting her menstrual period or something,
Right.
she can ask questions to the person who's supporting her, or if we've got someone who's having a problem with bullying at school or etc. So they're a wonderful charity that's based
Now,
in
do they do this in their pajamas? Do they gift them pajamas? Where do the pajamas come into it?
No, they don't. They don't. I don't really know what the connection is between the pajamas, if I'm honest. But yeah,
I was waiting for the pajama punchline. Like, where is this coming?
yeah.
Well, that's lovely. Yeah, we all need mentors and support and safe people to have conversations with and to talk to as we grow into the humans that we're becoming, right? So I love that cause. And thank you all for giving our show and us the grace to take a moment of pause off and the spotlight off ourselves and shine it on something I believe is very valuable. So I love that I get to do that with guests, and that you go along with it with a smile. So thank you for that. All right, now we're going to talk about books that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. So Lee Pepper, who is an author and a book that you just love?
Well, I love answering this question because I get asked it all the time, like, what's on your nightstand? And I always reply with, I am always reading Caesar's commentaries on the Gaelic Wars. So this is, a 2,000-year-old book.
I have to pause you. This is over 1,000 guests globally, and never have we had this book introduced to us. So please rewind a bit, go slow for some of us who are slower than others. That's me, not the rest of you. And share with us this book again.
Yeah, well, this is Julius Caesar's writings about his invasion of Gaul, of modern day France. And there's a lot of great military, histories and strategies, and some of them I write about in my book. And it's one of these books that I love. I keep it. I have an 1895 edition that I keep on my nightstand. And the reason I like to bring this up is that there's a lot of ancient wisdom in some of these older writings. And everybody's familiar with Sun Tzu. Like, we always talk about the art of war, and that's a very popular one. But there's a lot of great things that were written by Caesar and his contemporaries, and even going back to, to Greeks. And I think sometimes we get stuck thinking about the latest and greatest new marketing books, but I always try to make sure that I'm going back and rooting some of these things that are, ancient and that have stood the test of time. And so that's why I encourage people not to forget some of the classics.
So my husband's not military. My husband of 26 years, who's hot, hungry, and I adore. But he is a black belt, and he does like reading. He's very involved in like the ancient things like chi exercises and more holistic therapies and health and what have you, right? So I think he would totally love this book, and I'm always trying to figure out what the heck to get the guy who says don't buy me anything at Christmas. So what is if I'm going to go on Amazon and try to buy this book, Lee, help me. What am I typing in?
Yeah, you're just going to type in Caesar as Julius Caesar's commentaries on the Gaelic War, and there are many different translations. That's the name of it. That's his writings on his invasion, of France.
Okay, that book was the surprise of the day. All right,
yeah. Well, I'm glad that I could, after 1,000 interviews, come up with a book you've never had mentioned. So that's a win for me.
That is a win. All right, Andrew, this is going to be a hard act to follow. So away with you and the book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
So I'll give you two. One that I heard before, and one that is probably rarely referenced to being inspirational. And so the first one is Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. I think taking radical ownership over the things that you can control in yourself and in your life is an incredible path. And so that was my first introduction.
What's the name of it again? Say it again.
Atlas Shrugged.
Oh,
It was written by Ayn Rand. Highly recommend. Second one I'll mention is The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, which is a fiction book. It's a portrait of an American family, and the big takeaway that for me from that book is live your life while you can, because you never know if you're going to be 80 years old on a cruise ship thinking you're taking a vacation, unable to get yourself out of your room.
Wow. Okay. Some interesting book suggestions today. I know Michelle's going to have something cool and interesting too, though. We do have the hypnotist in the house. So, Michelle, a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
Well, I brought mine as a show and tell.
Okay.
But I actually use it pretty much every day. That's why. So it's a book called The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. So it is a blend of modern genetics and ancient wisdom, and it has 64 gene keys. Every gene key has a shadow expression, which is what you experience when you're living from fear, a gift expression when you're living from love, and then acidic expression, which is almost like an enlightened expression. And every person has a different combination of gene keys that are coded into them. And so it's an incredible tool for self-reflection and contemplation for you to move to your highest expression. And I started using this personally a number of years ago, and I started working through my gene keys. And it was an incredible experience for myself. And really interestingly, we have one gene key that corresponds to a core wound and also our vocation. And when I opened up the page of mine, which is 18, the title said The Healing Power of the Mind. And I'd already become a hypnotist. And when you read into it, it's all about helping people dissolve the patterns in early life. So I'm like, bang on my design. And then I started introducing this in the background with clients. So I'd have one of my introductory calls with a client. They'd tell me the stuff that was happening for them, the challenges, the issues. I'd then correspond it with their specific gene keys, and it would be all there in the shadows. So I actually help people work with their gene keys to unlock their genius and magic, which also sits inside. So it's a wonderful book. It's a beast, but it's literally, I'm in it constantly. So I recommend it hugely.
Well, and I have to tell you, I have great satisfaction that both of these gentlemen stopped when you named the book and wrote it down. I saw them both write it down.
I'm going to be on Amazon here in a few minutes, Michelle.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book.
Yeah, me too. And like, I mean, how brilliant is our run of show? Like, how exciting has this been? We've gone through all these great things. And I mean, I'm just on the edge of my seat, and I'm here in it. So I hope you out there are enjoying it just as much as we are having fun as sharing all of this with you. I had to write it down too because I'm high in that book. I want to get Andrew's too, and I'm getting Lee's for my husband. So yeah, good book suggestions. Wow, great round. And now we're going to go in to for Lee the book, and for Andrew and Michelle, we're going to be sharing some programs and just more in-depth things they're up to. We'll learn a little bit more about Andrew's retreat and Michelle's programs, but we're going to start with just sharing a bit more about the journey and your book, Lee. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, when I started writing this book, I'd been writing it probably for 10 plus years. And I talk about that in the preface, but it was about 18 months ago that I really sat down and started. I created a spreadsheet where I was documenting my daily word count or my research, that I was doing, and I got serious about it. But a lot of this is, less than 1% of Americans will serve in the military. And I don't say that with judgment. It's just where we are with an all volunteer military. But so that means to me, there's 99% of Americans have never heard some of these strategies that I've applied to mental models. So part of me, I wanted to make the things that I learned accessible to anybody, and how they can then apply those in their business world or maybe even their life too. Because, I work a lot in the behavioral health space. So most of my career, I've worked in drug and alcohol, substance use disorder treatment. And I think that there's a lot of correlation sometimes with trying to come up with, an overarching strategy versus just jumping around from tactic to tactic. And I always say that, the military is full of people that know how to shoot, but having, just because you know how to shoot doesn't win you any battles. Yeah. And so I think that that's key that I wanted to get across to especially young leaders, that you really have to start off with your strategy, because there's so many easy platforms these days. I mean, everybody jumps around from platform to platform, and now it's, AI, but a couple of years ago it was TikTok. And before that it was, Instagram Reels.
And but
that doesn't win.
Was hot and all
right.
that.
Yeah. But if you're not careful, you just kind of just jump around and you never ever win any real battles unless you have the strategy. And so that's kind of what I wanted to write about and document and share with people.
Yeah, I've had to do that in my own business, really get anchored on. And I constantly have to ask, I know I'm in this liminal space. Michelle, you're totally getting a call from me. But that it, is this where I'm going? Is this where my heart wants to go? Is this the path I'm leading? Am I, because I'm trying to remove things that are distractions on the path and try to make sure that I'm only incorporating things that actually lead me to focus and clarity on where I know my heart knows it's supposed to go, right, for the journey of my time here. So, and the legacy that I want to leave, right, and leaving space for those actions to create that legacy. So
well, I think what Michelle was alluding to with the liminal space too is important, because a lot of people, especially young leaders that I coach, they are stuck in this imposter syndrome. They're always questioning it. Do I really have what it takes to do what I want to do or to achieve? And I feel like it's a lot of times they don't have the language. And so that's another reason why I wanted to write the book, was to hopefully share some of the bigger picture language that they can, maybe use and apply in their business to kind of, because I feel like they're doing a lot of great work, but sometimes they're just missing that connection.
And Lee, I think you would love this. When I was doing some sales training for a firm where back in the day we took teams door to door and for campaigns and promotions, business to business, right? Business promotions and campaigns. And one of the ways we train them to get them over that imposter syndrome and give them that confidence was literally a more established person who knew the pitch and the spiel would go in with them. And on their first day at the first door, at the first business, the new person's job was to say, "Hi, my name is," and then that was it. And then the person supporting went into the rest of the spiel. And then at the next door, they had to say, "Hi, my name is, and I'm with this company, and we do this." And then they'd stop, and then the other person would take over the rest of the spiel. And until the final door, they were able, because they believed they could, because they could say their name, they could say the next sentence, and then they could say 2 more sentences. And we just literally build their belief muscle on the actual execution with the safety net right behind them of the other person taking over if they fumbled the ball, or if they stumbled on their tongue, or if Dr. Seuss was just their friend that day. And it was a great way for them to then actually win their first contract or commission. And for a salesperson, part of believing you can, and even for a business owner or an entrepreneur, believing you can is getting that first paying client and having it hit your Stripe or your PayPal account or whatever the ding is that goes, and that seeing that signature on that signed contract for that new client to believe, oh, someone's going to pay me to do this. I can do this, or knowing that it's available. Sometimes that's the first step, knowing that, oh, that's out there. I didn't know that was out there, and then beginning to allow our, as Michelle might point out, our subconscious to actually believe and accept that, yes, this is a possibility. We can work with this. So.
Well, I think that's a great analogy, and that's why 12-step groups have been so successful, because there's a famous saying, it works if you keep working it. And I think it's that building that confidence, and I think I told you previously, my youngest son is in basic training in the Army right now. Yeah. And, a lot of times people get confused about what basic training is, but it really is breaking them down and then building them back up step by step by step, so that they have this confidence now. They've established this inner confidence that then is going to, propel them, later in their careers.
Yeah. My son is active duty Army, and I believe there is nothing he cannot do. I mean, he is one amazing young man, and I love all my children. They're all impressive in their own wonderful ways. But I will say that about my son, I've always had so much admiration for his discipline, even before the Army. He's just a great human. Thank you for bringing this book into the world and sharing this perspective.
Thank you for letting me share it. Absolutely.
And we will be back around to you. We are not done with you yet, Mr. Lee Pepper. Andrew, share with us a bit about your programs and your retreat, and just tell Lee how wonderful his book is. I'm just saying. I'm not. I don't know. Go ahead. It's your turn, Andrew.
You probably idea, but I am an avid reader, so I will definitely be picking up both of your recommendations. Excited for that. So yeah, I do an international retreat once a year for current clients that are young adults. And we, like, last year was in Colombia, and we focus on like life vision planning, value action. Something that you mentioned resonates with me, just this idea that clarity is power. If you don't have some kind of vision, even though you're entitled to change your mind any number of times, it's very hard to have a direction without vision. So we work on a lot of that, because a lot of young people have an idea of what they want, but it's somewhat vague, and when things are vague, it can be hard to be actionable. This I just wanted to piggyback on something that you mentioned. This idea of imposter syndrome, like self-doubt is the cost of entry to doing anything in life. And too often people interpret that as a sign that they're on the wrong path. And so I invite you to switch your perspective on that like this is a normal part of the process. Most of the things that we want in life are to some extent on the other side of fear. And so I wanted to plant that seed too.
And you just took me back to like literally a moment in time, although, in some levels, time doesn't exist, right? Past, present, future, all an imaginative illusion. But, I actually remember, and it was 10 years ago now, right before I was going to really open my business, because my business, that's another story, too long for today. Ask me later. But I remember thinking, they've got Brian Tracy and Dale Carnegie and all these people. What do they need another sales and marketing consultant for? What do they need me for? Every sales book has been written, that nobody needs me to, teach sales or do this thing. And I was almost like ridiculously struck with a voice of, but not with your flair and style, not with you, not just like you. Somebody out there needs you. And if they can need all these other people, why not you too, right? And so I was easily able to literally shake that off and jump out, almost hatched like out of an egg, and said, oh, that's ridiculousness. I am this greatness, and the world needs me. Here I come, world, ready or not. And that's kind of once I got to the place of my story about my business is I was kind of a Jonah and the whale. Like, if you imagine someone hanging on to the tonsil of the whale and being pulled out by their ankles, that's how my business was born, because I did not have a desire to run a business until I was joyfully running a business, and now I adore it. So whatever. There's a lot more to that story, but I'm here to feature you guys. But yeah, I love that. Remembering you jogged my memory to that wonderful memory of letting that go, because yes, there is other engineers out there, and there are other hypnotists, and there are other marketing people, but there isn't us, so.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, I mean, it costs you nothing to believe in yourself, but it can cost you everything not to.
Good line. You're gonna still have to come up with something at the end of the show, so I hope that wasn't it.
That's got to be the opening quote in your upcoming book, Andrew.
Yes, I love that. That was a good one. The whole team cheers you on. All right, Michelle, give us a bit more about your programs, because I need to make notes and figure out how I'm signing up.
Wonderful. So my program is called Metamorph. So it is to become a metamorph. That is the person who has mastered their next level. So people that come into that, they're high performers, very successful people, often building a next level of business, big career changes, or generally traversing some big change. What's really key with this is the people that come into my world are very self-aware. So they can sit down and they can literally straight away tell you all their limiting beliefs. They know all their stuff, and they're kind of bored talking about it. They actually just want to change it. And so the focus of this particular experience in Metamorph is we do all of the what I call subconscious exfoliation. We're literally shedding the old version. We're going deeply into your body. We're doing the energetic work. And I also help you pull out this magic and genius. So to your point, you know, everybody has this certain something that makes them special. And a lot of people don't see it in themselves. So we pull that out. And sometimes that means that your business, your career, your next thing gets a tweak. And sometimes we throw the baby out with bathwater. It all depends. And the other component is something that I call energetically sustainable success. We are not all designed to work the same way. We don't all have the same energy, the same flavor of energy. It doesn't move and flow in our bodies the same way. And half the reason people are burnt out and tired is because they're trying to follow other people's models of structuring their life and business. So we go again into your design, what's very specific for you. And again, we can adjust stuff so that you can have that sustainability in the way that you operate through your energy. I work one-on-one within Metamorph, and then there is also a collective element for some people if they want that, but it's very intimate. So it's very intimate, it's very deep. There's in-person meetups, there's these intimate portals. It's not an online course, although it's got resources for you to access. So that's the space. And if you're interested, if you head to my website, you can book in a call, and we can have a chat about it. But it's a really transformative space. It's less about you knowing more, and it's about you feeling it, an actual experience differently in yourself. So you pop out the liminal at the other end and you're like, oh, I'm there.
Oh, I'm there. That's me standing on the deck in front of my saltwater pool, looking out at the ocean and the waves coming in. Like, I can describe every nook and cranny of this house that I'm going to find and purchase in the next few years. Like, I know all the things. I even know events that we're going to have there, and things that are in the garden, and like it's a little crazy.
Now imagine if I took you into such deep hypnosis and you installed that vision so deep in your body.
Yeah, I'm loving this idea. Okay, this is fun. Everybody having fun here? I am having a blast. And you out there watching, what a treat this has been for you. Please share this with someone you care about, that you know it will be great for them. You always are our hero when you share. And if you had a book out there that you loved and would like to share with us that inspired you, please put it in the comments. And if you're an author, put that there too, because when someone has a nice big heart and they press that share button, then they just might be featuring your book and the cause you care about as well. So we love all of you out there watching. We're so very grateful. Now, before we say goodbye to these amazing guests, we're going to get a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration as we go. You know, I never let them off the hook without that. Andrew's going to have to come up with another brilliant one, because he was like brillianting all over the place, you know, willy-nilly, like, you know, he has a whole sack of them. I'm hoping he's got a pot of them. So we'll come back to him. But Lee, give us some closing thoughts. And again, thank you so much for your service and for being here today. I've loved having you as a guest, and just love getting to know you. You've been great.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica, and it's been great hearing from Andrew and from Michelle, and I hope we'll stay connected. I'll be connecting with you guys on LinkedIn, you know, as soon as we're done today. But I think for me, you know, this concept kind of started with a quote that I always, you know, say, and it's determined today that in the face of adversity, you will never be outmatched. And I think that this is one of the things that when I was applying, because, you know, when you apply for a TED Talk, I mean, it's a thankless job, because, you know, it takes so many applications and videos. But when I finally found the right platform, you know, the right stage, it was in Ocala, because their title this year is Pivot. And I think that's what they saw in my proposal, was that's a lot of what this book is about, is that determining that you're going to figure things out. And here are these strategies that I've applied, you know, in my life to kind of, you know, always pivoting, always figuring things out. So I think that kind of gets back to a lot of our conversation today, that there's a lot within you, and you just need to honor that and just take your time to go and investigate and pull it out of you.
And I have on my wall right next to me on my vision board, make a way, right? So you always just find the way to make a way.
Yes.
No turning back option. So I truly love that. Thank you for all you've shared today, Lee. You're pretty fabulous.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you're a business out there, go find his website, check out our notes, check out the articles that are connected to all the places that this is posted, so that you can see about what it would be like to work with Lee Pepper. He has a lot to offer you individually as well as your community. Thank you again, Lee. Andrew, a final thought for us as we close today?
Yeah, so one of my all-time favorite quotes is from a professor philosopher named Alan Watts, and the quote is, "You're under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago." And I love this idea that you can reinvent yourself as many times as is needed while heading in the direction of finding the outcome you truly desire and want in your life. And so I love that concept, and I love that quote, and it drives a lot of the reinvention in my own life.
Oh my gosh, I am totally in love with that. I can see myself taking a deep breath and saying to self with a glass of lemonade, okay, I'm going to take 5, and in 5, I'm going to be a whole new person in the next 5 minutes after that. Let me regroup, get it together, take a deep breath, and then when I come out of my deep breath and my moment for myself, I'm going to come out a whole new person. I think I do that all the time. I don't know if you've gathered this, but I really love me. I love my life. I love so many things about me, and it helps me see all of the beautiful things that I love about all of you. And Andrew, you are without doubt doing great things, and thank you for the great things that you're doing. And I think you and Lee could come up with some fun to do together. I see a collaboration there for serious. So just saying, just maybe an inspiration, just a seed, seeds planted. Michelle, a final thought that you could share with us? I'm so excited about, I already know I'm digging into that book. My book is as worn as yours very soon, and in whatever time really is. I can feel it and see it worn and loved and used in my hands already, in that state of nurturing me. So I'm excited about that.
I will just say with that book for everyone is that as you evolve, as you go back and reread your keys, you pull something different out each time.
Yeah.
So it's like this book that evolves alongside you. And often
I have a book like that. I have a spiritual book like that I keep close to my heart. That's been a living book of words for me. That's changed through my life. So, but I'm excited to read the Gene Keys. That's very exciting. All right, give us the inspiration of it all.
Well, I'm going to quote myself. So this is something that I'm always saying to my clients. I always say, your potential is the gateway to your purpose. And so, so many of us are seeking meaningful, purposeful work, and it can feel quite hard to locate someone's purpose. People get really caught up on it, and they actually just use it as a form of self-sabotage almost to end up getting into action. But if you subscribe to the idea that you have a purpose, that you've been put here to do something, then you must subscribe to the idea that you've been given the potential to execute on it. So if you just focus in on experiencing as much of your potential as possible, you'll always end up on purpose. So your potential is the gateway to your purpose.
And you know why I love this? And I'm going to use a British or UK word. We all, at this point, because thank you, the home channel or whatever, HGTV or whatever, or the DIY of it all, but we can all now look at a home, a piece of land, an apartment that's just an absolute rubbish shambles condition, but in the right location, we can see its potential. So, and that's something our subconscious can really believe. I can believe that there is true potential in me. That's an easy, believable first step. And then to be able to step into and begin experiencing the possibilities and the change that are next with that. What a beautiful thing. Say it one more time for us.
Your potential is the gateway to your purpose.
I love that. We all have potential, and it's the gateway to, and I believe purpose is like the best version of us. I don't always do this. I just do our closing remarks, and I say the same thing I always say, and I'll do that in a minute, because don't worry, I won't let you down, all of these who have been watching for so long. But I do have a quote that I've been saying for a very long time. as I raise many, many children. My quote is, now is later sooner. So do it now. Because when you tell a teenager to go do their homework or clean their room, the first thing is, later, mom. But now is later so much sooner. So please go do it now, right? So I've used that. It's interesting. Every lesson that I've ever had to teach my children, I've often had to learn for myself. And so now is later sooner. So do it now is something I more often say to myself in the mirror and encourage myself on to get the things done on my action list that I really want to, than I ever will have ever said again to my children. So they have taught me so much more than I will ever teach them. But that you shared one of your quotes, so I thought I'd share one of mine. All right, everyone. This has been a great show. I have loved having you all as guests so very much. And if you're out there thinking, I would be a great guest for the show, we'll reach out to my team and we'll get you on. I have been your host, Jessica Koch, as always. And this has been Profound Professionals. I think you could agree the professionals we had today are pretty darn profound. And until our next show, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.